see us.
Don't forget to cook. You guys, I'm about to try to do a chili contest, a chili cooking contest. See if I win. I don't even care. I don't even care what I win. I just want to do it just because I know I make some good chili
Oh yeah.
with the yacht club. Yeah, it's so
Okay.
funny.
Okay.
Okay, is
Yeah.
this a good one?
You ready?
Yep.
We're going live. We're live on
Oh.
Facebook as well.
We are live. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are here. We are ready. This is the first. This is the one.
Yeet, yeet.
Mike's and mine says so. That being said, we came up with this coffee with Cam was cool and all, but as we all know, doing it with people is so much better. Doing it by yourself sucks. So I got the homies. We sat down after the coffee with Cam last week and we decided we're gonna do Mike's and Mindset. So first off, you already know me. I'm the hostess with the mostest, Coach Cam. We got Miss Karina.
What's up? It's Karina Cook, your favorite tax strategist, mom, wife, businesswoman, and all the other things that come with it.
Yes, sir. And our
Yes,
boy
sir.
G.
What's going on, y'all?
So
Listen.
G-Man is gonna pop in on us when he has a chance.
Yes.
But we're gonna keep it live. So just so you guys know, it's always gonna be me because I gotta set it all up, and then either Karina, Glenn, or all three of us. But at the end of the day, we are going to bring a good conversation about our community, about mindset, about how to further yourself as a person. So first off, how are y'all doing? Karina, you go first.
I'm doing good. You guys. I
think you guys gonna like Karina on this show.
Because I am not playing. I just literally mentally went through a whole shift.
Mhm.
Probably why even when y'all asked me what I wanted to talk about, I said, listen, we got some stuff coming. But I'm feeling really good. It was a very productive week. And I don't know, I'm in my 33 era.
Okay.
And it just felt like I stepped into a whole nother zone this week. So
okay.
Yeah.
That's
All
what's
right,
up.
all right,
That's
G-Man.
what's up. I'm good, man. I'm good. You know, life is always life, and but you know, it's about perspective. It's about perspective. We're gonna talk about that today too. But yeah, it was good. I took a day off yesterday just to connect with the fam. I was out in San Jose, California. You know, at the Tech Museum. And
Mhm.
so if y'all haven't been, definitely take the fam out there. It's a nice interactive museum. So
that's cool.
So that was cool, man. I'm you know, for in short terms, I'm locked in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just in life. You know what I mean? So
I don't know if I'm gonna go there based off that traffic you got yesterday. I don't even want to go to my Airbnb anymore after the traffic I got in yesterday or last weekend.
Is it road work?
They shut down like 80 how it goes up and like crosses over to go towards like Tahoe, and that's from Mount House. So I got stuck on the way back home last weekend on Sunday. We got stuck in like 4 hours of traffic. Oh yeah, it was
4
horrible.
hours.
4 hours, bro.
Oh, don't get me in traffic. Y'all want to see me?
Yes.
Put me in some traffic.
We want to see Karina upset. I don't think I've ever seen you upset.
Good.
I mean, I shouldn't. I mean,
Yes,
but
I
you know, but you never
you
know. I
know.
mean, you know, I feel you.
I'm a very nice, kind, cool, collected person.
I don't know. She's lethal.
We got a few folks joining the live. Massachusetts, I know, is in the building.
Hey you.
Hey,
I
y'all.
gotta
It's
get you
not
a mic.
letting
I
you
gotta get
live.
G a
Yeah, I
mic
gotta bear
stand.
with me.
Also, I know what happened to that like thing.
Oh, I didn't. My bad. I failed the squad. So I got asked an interesting question this morning that is kind of like around the topics that we talked about that we said we were going to say today, and it was so I was recording for a client this morning, and one of the guys has a son that's in like Army training right now for his tech school. Tech school is like when they learn their jobs, and so you know, I told him that I was a recruiter and everything, and he was like, I have a question: is would you recommend your children to go in the military? And I was like, man, it's such a loaded, but it all came back like to mindset, right? And I said, honestly, my personal opinion is that I feel as though the military is a very good avenue for any young person, like to get experience and things of that nature.
Yeah.
However, that being said, I think a lot of parents expect that the military is somehow going to eradicate 18 years of bad habits that you taught your potential children.
Yeah.
And so, we hear a lot about things that happen in the, with the force. And I told him, I said, I think it's a mindset problem. I think we're not teaching our kids these days how to have better mindset. So when they get into an environment like the military, they're used to one type of environment, and they weren't prepared mentally, mindset wise, to adjust to this next environment. And so it's a lot of blame that environment, when in reality it was how you went into it in the first place. So with you being retired now, I think, and we've kind of talked about this, you don't have to answer that question specifically, but like, what do you think about that?
Yeah. So just to kind of put some context to folks that never seen me on the platform before, I have 4 kids, 21, 12, 7. Zay's birthday was on Saturday, by the way. So he'll be 8, and then I have a 3-year-old baby girl. And so I just think that the conversation that we have in our household, the military is not for my kids.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it does bring a lot of value, a lot of discipline if people go in with that open mindset. But I think, we're raising up more of entrepreneurs, right? We're raising up individuals of like helping them to already have certain disciplines and a certain level of mindset going into, when they become young adults. For example, my oldest, he's already an adult.
Yeah.
And I know his desires and dreams don't align with what the military offers.
Yeah.
And I think that as a parent, that's something to look at. Based off of their skill set, what are their desires and dreams?
Yeah. And
like the realistic dreams as well. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
in short, the military does bring some value. But for my family in particular, like I wouldn't recommend the military, because as the leader of the home, part of my responsibility is to set the foundation for them. Right. And so those same principles that I've learned in the military, I would be doing them a disservice if I didn't provide them at least that foundation. So.
But what happens if entrepreneurship isn't even like that type of route isn't? So for instance, Ivy's, I kind of like that, right? Like, even though she may have that spark, she's like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to be in charge of a business. I don't want to do so. Like, even though she can think outside the box, another example, she has a lot to offer, but we've talked, like, she's a great employee. She's great when it comes to structure. Right. And so, that's an interesting point.
Yeah. I think you make a good point with that. Because, right now in such an age gap, right, they may be very interested in, or I may think, my perspective may be, I can see them as an entrepreneur, and they don't have a desire to be an entrepreneur. And so I guess kind of to that question, I would just be there to still support. That direction was still given the lessons and qualities and skill sets that I learned from the military to still make sure that is the foundation, whatever direction they go.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, I like that, because I feel like I had a lot of family members in the military, and still do. And I mean, we just had one of I think he's like 18, just turned 18. And he's leading himself, and we had like 3 cousins just going into the Navy.
Okay.
Right out of high school.
Got you.
Right. So I think like it goes back to what you're saying. I think that for me, if I'm on the outside looking in, I'm thinking about principles, like what, and then also like, if you see something in your kid and they can go do the thing, if it aligns with what they want to do, like I wouldn't force anything.
For sure.
Like I've seen that in the past. Like I think the old school way is like, you're going to go. And even when I thought about it as a graduating high school, they told us about ROTC. Right. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll get an ROTC. And then I thought when I start to go through challenges and mental challenges, I'll start to think, oh, maybe I'll just go into the military because it's going to discipline me. And I thought it was just because I needed to get the discipline. And I even contemplated like the in your mind, sometimes you might have like the bad stuff that they put you through, because that's what TV shows is like. You go through the drills and then they get you on point. It makes you strong. It was more that mindset why I felt like it would be good. But I don't even know if I would have been how I would have went into it or came out of it. You know what I mean? So I think it's all like what you say is like what you build up and the principles you build up into your kid before. Like for you guys, why did you guys go?
I got a laundry list.
Yeah. My mom pretty much was like, you should join the military. My uncle was in the Air Force, and she was like, you barely graduated high school. maybe college, wasting time there is not the smartest decision.
Mhm.
And so she said, I'll sign for the Air Force or the Navy.
Mhm.
And so I always tell people I was the easiest recruit ever because I was just like, I take common sense advice. So that makes sense. I didn't like high
Yeah.
school. Why would I go, whatever? And so
Mm.
I just told the recruiter, I said, you give me a place to live, you give me some food, uh, money in my pocket, and give me a contract, I'll sign it.
Put me in,
Mhm.
coach.
Yeah, I mean, it was an opportunity, right? I was like, there's no other opportunity that
Yeah,
I was gonna do that had that much ROI immediately.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, mine's just like I had to get out of my city, right? And
Mm.
so, my circle of folks that I was around, and some of and just where my mindset was at, right? Like I have a history of family who are connected to the streets, right? And so just by default, that was part of the lifestyle with actually being like
Yeah.
deep in it. Because fortunately for me, on my dad's side, at the time I was the youngest kid out of like 67.
Mhm.
And so all my cousins protected me to make sure I wasn't knee deep in the streets. Right. And so I always kind of had that shield.
Yeah.
But that was what I knew. And so I knew if I wanted some type of future, whatever that looked like, it wasn't going to be in Philly. Right. And so, and I used to look up to my grandfather. So years ago, I heard he used to be in the military. And so this was a man at that time that I looked up to. And so I remember walking to work one day, seeing this recruitment office. I went in, they showed me this cool video of, uh, the security forces, as they call them, riding around on ATVs with a gun. And I was like, well, two things that you'll know about, a lot of kids from Philly, as far as, 16, 17, we like dirt bikes and we like guns.
Yeah, okay.
Be in the streets.
And so
DMX,
I was just like,
Yeah,
I was like, this is a job you could.
I'm thinking Meek Mill. He said DMX.
Hey,
Different age
right. Agent. No, but and so that attracted me. I was like, oh, I could do that and get paid for it and it's legal. That's what I want to do. And so that was what grabbed my attention. So, but it wasn't nothing like that.
So just so you know, if any security for the recruiting posters, put the ATVs on it, and you'll do it. But I mean that's and I don't want to like go. I was just it was a question that posed about mindset, right? And so we don't have to go down.
That was good.
Yeah, I mean I don't want to. And it was less like I told him I was like it's less about the military in general and more so about how are we building up our children. Like I was telling him how like kids will tell my daughter like, oh, your dad, like, oh, he seems like he's hard. And she's like, actually, it's just like as long as we do what we're supposed to do, he's hella chill. It's only when we don't do the things that we said we were gonna do or that we know we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's that accountability piece. So
yeah. I would ask our viewers and everybody tuning in that same question. You know what I mean? Like just as a parent, because I know most of our market are parents, right?
Yeah.
But like, what are some of the principles that you're teaching, that you're instilling in your kids as a foundation? You know what I mean? So, 'cause I mean, that is very important, because while intentionally, like my mom being raised by a single woman, it wasn't like, hey, this is why I'm teaching you this.
Correct.
Right. And I think like the parenting style now, at least mine's, is more to have those conversations, not all the time.
Yeah.
Right? But to have those conversations about like the big why connected to
why
I'm telling you this, why we talk about this, why it's not just about a motivational quote. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? So all that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
For sure. Okay. So kind of heavy to start out with y'all, but that, so the premise of that was because, we all came up with a topic for today, and all of them were somewhat around like mindset or investing in your future or being intentional about like the moves that you're making. And so, with that being said, G, we'll start with your topic, which was the power of perspective. Your mind is the mic.
Yes.
So, ladies and gentlemen, G Money.
Yes.
Why'd you choose it, bro? Like, and let's talk about it.
Yeah. So the why I chose it, because I'm big on. So there's two reasons why I chose this particular topic. Number one, I'm just big on perspective. Right. It's kind of a consistent conversation.
Healthy perspective. You feel
and
me?
So when right. I didn't connect that. But the other piece was it, like, I was thinking about like our conversation last week and why we were even starting this. You know what I mean? Like why, like, and I know, again, from perspective to, to voices and passion, it's just a laundry list full of things. Like when I sat back, I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense. So let's talk about perspective. But how your mind is the mic.
Yeah.
right? Because
Mm.
there's the and I know it's a simple topic, but it's deep. And the reason why I say that is because when you think of a microphone, and I was looking this up, right? Like what does that represent? What is a microphone?
Mm.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like a microphone doesn't actually create the sound; it amplifies it.
Wow.
Right? And so,
Ah.
and something that it said was that your mindset does the same thing in your life. It doesn't always change your circumstances,
Yeah.
but it amplifies how you
Mm.
experience them.
Yeah.
I.e., I was just talking about being this inner city kid at 17 joining the military,
Yeah.
right? The my circumstances, being in that moment, the deeper question is how will that amplify my life?
Yeah.
Right? Because you could take two kids from the inner city, place them in the military based off of how we started the conversation, and the outcomes can be completely different.
Yep.
Right?
Mhm.
Based off of perspective, based off of mindset, just based off of the lens in which they see the world in.
Yeah.
And so I thought that it was important to kind of to talk about that, and get your guys' perspective because we're all leaders, right? We're all parents, right? We're all married.
Yeah.
And so I'm interested to kind of hear your guys' perspective when it comes to the mind and the mic.
Mm.
And so I have another piece to that, but I'm gonna start there. What did you guys think about when you first seen that was going to be one of the topics? We'll start there.
Mm.
I'm always prepared for you to wordplay. If there's anything you need to know about Glenn, he will wordplay the hell out of something. So I was like, oh, this is on brand.
Yeah, for sure.
Mental note.
That's what I thought. But I want Karina to go first because I think, especially as like a woman in
Mhm.
2025, and beyond, right, is like, we all, as a society, we understand the pressure that gets put on women every
Mhm.
day. The pressures are different based off gender, right?
Mm.
But especially for like our younger women as they're growing, they're dealing with hormones or school and confidence. Now there's like the internet and social media. So I'd be interested of like, when your mind's the mic, like especially how do you instill that in the women around you?
Okay, can you ask, because that was a good question. Can you say it again?
Yeah. So here's the bottom piece of it. So the microphones, or a microphone doesn't create sound, it amplifies it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so your mindset does the same thing in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And so it
Mhm.
doesn't always change your circumstances, but it amplifies how you experience it. So in life, for you, when you're going in, let's say there's Karina 1 and Karina 2, right? You guys can go through the same situations, but because you guys have different mindsets and different perspectives or views on the world, the outcome can be different.
And what would I tell somebody? Because that's what you said.
Well, like, how do you manage that?
Yeah.
Like, as like, how do you manage self-thought when your mind, you know, can become the microphone that amplifies your negative thoughts, your positive
Mm.
thoughts, those types of
Okay,
things.
see,
Yeah. So that
that makes sense.
yeah.
Okay.
Savvy.
I think I
That's
think
what we hear.
it's like it's always evolution for me because I feel like when I was there's always stages of it.
Mhm.
Like I feel like even when I just told you guys that I just went through a whole nother shift, it
Yeah.
was a better shift for my mindset.
Right.
Right? Like I think that just for me growing up, I look at things and I never really held on to them. Like I'm a very forgiving person. I
Mhm.
don't hold on to a lot. Like when things happen, I just kind of let it go after a while. And I think that has helped me maintain a certain mindset. But then there's also like that other person that you said could be, right?
Right.
Where that other person is like deep down, like, okay, limiting who I can be and what I can be based on what it's telling me.
Yeah.
Right. So if you go into a room, you might be like, okay, well, am I capable of this? Or,
And that's it.
you
Yes.
know,
Mhm.
and I think obviously there's more than one reason why you question those things. There's different elements
Mhm.
that we could talk about for hours. But I think what I've found out is that I've put a block in front of myself,
Mhm.
right? Like
Right.
because I
Right.
have a higher expectation of what I
Sure.
see here,
Yep.
and then I'm like, well, how do you get to this expectation? And then you trying to get to it, but you're like, I don't know. Like I'm trying to break through this block with all the information and the consciousness, all the things
Right.
that are in the back of your mind. If I could tell somebody like what would you what some advice I can give somebody in this is just slow down. Right. And I think that kind of led into what I was going to mention earlier is like you have to like one retrain your mind to
Mhm.
think a little bit differently, and it's not something that happens overnight,
Mm.
right? But it's as you start to seek and you start to see that things are not as you see them all the time,
Right.
and you start to wordplay, like say different things about yourself, about what you're doing, about your outcome, what you're trying to achieve, then I think eventually you will. And then that's how I think things are coming towards you for you to believe those things. Like you
Mhm.
start to then unlock it,
For
right?
sure. Yeah. I mean, it makes perfect sense. And you know, to what you were saying, like I pictured both, you know, you have that person
as
on your
far as it
left
goes now.
shoulder, the person on your right shoulder, right?
Mhm.
They're both saying the same thing to you, but like
Yeah.
depending on what you hear and how you again execute and amplify your life will determine the outcome,
Mhm.
Mm.
right? Rather than one person on the left side could be telling you um, the opposite of the
Yeah.
positive things, right? Like the disbelief in who you are, the insecurities, right? Highlighting that, amplifying that versus amplifying like you are capable. You were created and designed to be great, right? Like those
Mhm.
are different levels of conversation.
Yeah.
And so when you have those whoever's in your ear, that's the microphone.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, I'm like rude about it too. If people have like limiting beliefs, I'd be like, take that shit somewhere else.
Mhm. For sure.
Like,
You have to.
I was talking to I was talking to someone very close to me, and I remember like I was telling them about some of the things we were trying to like do,
Mhm.
and it turned into um oh well, what about this or what about that, and I like without thinking, and I probably I didn't mean to be rude, but I was like, yeah, I don't care. I'd stop. I don't care about none of that.
Okay, no, I get that. I get
And
that.
so like that's kind of the biggest, and I tell the kids that same thing, right? Is like, hey, like don't be so worried about why things can't be done. Worry about why they can be done. Because then like
Yeah.
and it's even come to the point where like now that's not working out.
It's not working. Too tall.
But like even it's starting to rub off on the kids, right? Like now, you know, one will say like, oh, I can't do that, and it's funny because the other kid one of the other kids will be like, hey, don't say you can't do that,
Yep.
just say you know you can't do it yet,
Yes.
you know. And I'm like, there we go, now we're rubbing off. But that makes a lot of sense, right? It's like, you know, someone I know recently, it's like everything can magnify in your mind if you let it, right?
Mhm.
Like they say your brain is the stupidest thing in your body because it will believe anything you tell it.
For sure.
So if you tell it that you're this, then you're that. If you tell it this, you know, like
Yep.
I know I've told both y'all about like I feel like I have universal powers because I'll say something and it happens, like, you know. And I think a lot of that comes from like just understanding the power we have as human beings.
Mhm.
I think we've been told that our power is not as strong as
For
it
sure.
is. And so like on a daily, I think I'm a superhero on a daily basis.
Mhm.
And so because of that energy that we all honestly put out,
Right.
because we're all doing that in our lives, right? But like society is not built for that energy.
Right.
Oof.
Yeah. No.
It suppresses. It tries
Yeah.
to suppress
sure.
it and hide it.
Oh yeah.
Like more than anything.
Especially, I mean, and that's what like what our food and things like that, like we are amazing beings.
Mhm.
We just have to know it.
100%. Yeah. When you talk about like the superpower, I remember, you know, so my whole household, we all got ADHD.
Mhm.
And I remember coming across this article a couple years ago. And the article was titled something of the sort, ADHD is a superpower.
Mm.
And I remember going through and it was talking about like how we're wired a little bit differently, right? Or people with ADHD's mind is wired a little bit differently. But it goes back to, are you going to tell yourself that, you're going to use it as an excuse? Or are you going to learn more about why the wiring is different and what the capabilities are?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so,
Man.
and so the reason why I bring that up, because Cam, when you talk about superpower, you know, that's something that I
He's telling
often
me I have
remind
ADHD.
specifically what'd you say?
He's telling me I have ADHD.
So Cam,
this
you
is
know,
how
you-
this is how Glenn kindly
But yeah, I remind my 12-year-old Darren about like it's a superpower.
Yeah.
We have to use it as such.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's fire. That and I so like I now start saying because I went to a conference and one of the speakers was like, you can say like when you change the wording,
Mhm.
it puts you in a different alignment.
100%.
So like I can say, I'm not a millionaire. I don't do this. I don't do this. Or you can say I'm not a millionaire yet.
Mhm.
Or like that, the power of that word yet.
Mhm.
You can, even if you say I'm not, like I am a millionaire,
Right.
that's more powerful because I feel like it does retrain your mind. But when she said that, I was like, you know what? I'm about to run with that because
Mhm.
and I catch myself saying it all the time. And I recently started saying y'all, and I'm putting it on not paper, on the air.
Yeah.
Okay, live. I'm going
Live.
to have a 6-figure day, not a month, not a
Mhm.
year. You guys,
Boo.
I'm going to have a 6-figure day, and that's just what it is. And
Mhm.
so when that happens,
Mhm.
then I'm gonna say I'm gonna have a 7-figure
Yeah.
day, and it's gonna happen because it's all in your mind and the limits that I feel like your
Mhm.
mind, like there's no limit. There's
For
no
sure.
limit. Like we put a cap on that, and I think it happens because of circumstances.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And our circumstances is a number of things. We have television, we have
Mhm.
news telling us that we can't. It's programming us to think a
Mhm.
certain way, and we believe it, and we think that there's limited resources for those things, and we put ourselves in a certain position. So, I think that was very powerful.
For sure. That's
Yeah.
why community is important.
Yeah.
What your community looks like.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you have a 7-figure day, we all get Lambos, right?
Listen, I don't even.
That's the 10-year-old me.
Listen, you already know I'm gonna come in here. I don't even know. You know,
She might
I
not
think
show
I'm.
up.
Well, she might
I
not
was-
show up. She be like, "Hey, we good.
I
I'm
think
good.
I'm too mature
yo,
now to come in here with the money on my head.
mind,
like,
my mindset has reached another level now."
yeah, yeah.
So, Karina, your topic. So great topic, by the way, G.
Appreciate it.
Love your face. That was dope. Also, Mariah Earl.
Mm-hmm.
She said this is the best new show ever.
Aw,
Shout out to
show.
is it Mariah?
She said, "Love this new podcast."
There you
That's
go.
what's up.
Right.
There you
Shout
go.
out Mariah.
Clock it,
So
Mariah.
thank you. So your topic, Karina, was strategically moving towards your desires and goals. So since you were touching on that already, like let's elaborate more on that. Like without like what are you doing now that you didn't do 2 years ago?
Mm.
I think what am I doing now? I think I'm being open. So like I always was into community.
Mhm.
And I've continued to do that. I think more so like now is like we said, unlocking the limitations in my mind.
Mhm.
Right? Like before, like I think okay, because there's like certain things that you feel like you go through life and you just know because you read it, right? Like it's a certain learning thing that
Yeah.
happens. Oh, I know this, but you technically you don't because you didn't master it.
Mhm.
So even if you tell me, you ask me a question about it, I might know the on the surface, but I don't truly know
For sure.
all of the details, right?
Yeah.
And so now that I'm knowing those things, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get better at retraining my mind a little bit different, even different, like strategically on like where I'm going in life. Like, what do I see and how do I plan to get there based on what I said I was like the plan.
Okay. You good. You good.
Oh, I
You
was
good.
like,
You
what
good. No, that's for me.
Oh,
You good.
based on the plan that I see fit. And so yeah, I mean 2 years ago, I'm like, dang, where was I? I mean, I think that I had just started getting into my 30s and I was like, oh, okay, like this 30s is different. it's different. It is different. You know, 20s is like, you know, you're just you're living. And I think I was mature, but as I started to go in my 30s, I was like, okay, I'm taking things extra serious. It was just a whole nother level. And then I just started to say that like I'm going to do things now.
For sure.
Like I'm doing them and I'm not gonna like ask questions, I'm just doing it. Now it's like, no, I'm being way more strategic than I was before, you know, because I see now like the vision is clear, the desires are there. Um, so yeah.
Okay. G, what about you?
Where was I at 2 years ago and where I'm at now?
Mm.
Was that the question?
Yeah, that's somewhat of a strategic question because you know what happened roughly 2.5 years ago.
Oh.
I think we launched the Elder Perspective, right? Or we jumped into business together.
That's yeah.
Yeah. So 2 years ago,
Best day of his life in the last 2.5.
Yeah.
Not speaking for him.
That's my guy.
I'm weak. Not the best
so
day.
it was so 2 years ago was interesting for me because like I was both like it was such blessings happening, but I was in a I won't say a dark place,
Mm.
but like I was trying to run hard. And I think I was it's funny that y'all asked this question because I was having a conversation with Tegan last night, something very similar. It's like so I jumped in the financial industry some years back in 2017, 2018, right? And so 2 years ago I was retired full time from the Air Force and I was just doing that primarily,
Mhm.
right? And so, at the time, during that time and 2 years ago, linked up with a friend of mine, jumped into business, was a
Mhm.
partner at a financial firm, and was helping to kind of build the base shop.
Mhm.
And I think that one of the things that I took away from that time was that I was one of my natural skill sets is to build people up,
Mhm.
right? And I found out that a lot of my time that I was investing in people, the result was that while I'm grateful for that season, that result of it is that people say they want something,
Mm.
right? They want to achieve
Mhm.
something. And so you'll spend this time, energy, and effort of pouring into them or committing that time.
Mhm.
So here's the
Mhm.
short of where I'm going with that. There were times where instead of me running my own appointments, right, where I would receive my commission, right, because I knew that I had a pretty high closing rate, right? One of the things I always led off was just the information piece on the financial side rather than the transactional relationship.
Yeah.
And so at the time I was trying to build this team, and I was investing my time. I was making a decision to not run my own appointment so I can build up because I'm playing the long game,
Yeah.
right? Like I know it makes sense to run with a team of strong individuals,
Mhm.
right? And so navigating through that didn't happen, right? And so there was a financial loss that I took,
Mhm.
personally,
Mhm.
but it was a decision that I was comfortable making, right? So anyway, 2 years ago, that there was blessings and storms happening
Yeah.
more consistently in my life that it had been years since I faced some of those lessons or
Yeah.
those situations. Thankfully, some of the folks in my circle, without even asking, and this is why community is important, without asking, they were there.
Mhm.
And not just like, hey, hit me up if you need anything, like they were there.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And normally it was uncomfortable for me because I'm normally the person extending my hand out. Where in that season, I needed that hand, right? And
Right.
so anyway, I know I went deeper onto that topic than I was going to go, but just to kind of like paint the picture a little bit. But where I was then and where I am now, and mindset still the same, but I think that the focus is a lot different and
Okay.
there's a lot more intentional, right? Because I'm always playing the long game, but now it's more strategic.
Yeah.
Now I'm leaning back on what I'm skilled at versus essentially starting a whole new career and learning, all this other stuff rather than focus on what am I great at and execute on that. So that's the season that I'm at. So I had to say no to some things. I had to recently make a conscious decision to say no to specific things. And that could be seasonal, but I had to say no because it was draining me mentally. Just focusing on certain things that I had no control over.
Yeah.
And so I had to re-look back like, hey, what are the things I can control?
Yeah.
What are the things that you're great at? And then connect those things. So long answer to the question, but y'all might get one of those every now and again.
And so 2.5 years ago, 2 years ago, yeah, Glenn and I had just reconnected. I was going through the divorce at the time, and so we connected because I was like, hey, I know that you do life insurance and I need a policy. And so he came to the, and I said, not to mention, I'm also interested in some of these other things I've been seeing about. You're obviously an expert. I'd like to learn about these things. And so we sat down and talked, and then I was like, well, like, what if I wanted to like do this?
Yeah.
And he was like, I mean, yeah, like, let's talk about it. And so, we ended up partnering, and, we started killing it. And so, but like between like community, like G was talking about, like I needed that.
Yeah.
I was in a place where like, and it wasn't even necessarily it wasn't just because I was going through my divorce, but it was also because like some stuff had happened at work. I was in a weird place where like I felt like I couldn't trust a lot of people. Like I like almost like our kind of dark times like collided, because I always tell people there was a point where like I had a really dark cloud over me for a couple months. And then Net was actually a part of me getting out of that, because she was like, if you want to get out of this, you have to forgive the people that you're upset with. And she said, I know that's like the hardest thing anyone can tell you, is like to forgive the people that you're upset with. But I promise you, like your soul, your heart will thank you. And so I did. I called all the people and was like, hey, I want to apologize to you about my behavior in this scenario. I'm not telling you that I necessarily agree with your behavior, but I'm apologizing for my part in this situation. So just know, like, we're good. I forgive you.
Wow.
And people are not used to stuff like that. Cause I mean, every single person was like, you're calling me to apologize, because they knew what they had done was wrong, but they were, unfortunately, like most people, I feel, they were cowards. They didn't want to call me and say, hey, I messed up.
Yeah.
So they were like, you're apologizing to me? And I was like, yep, that's what I'm doing. and so but after I did that, that's when me and G linked up.
Yeah. Ooh.
I don't know if I ever told you that.
No.
After that, I did that in probably about June, and you and I linked up in July
Wow.
/ August time frame. So I actually just put that together in this moment. But but yeah, so that happened, and then it just like, and just having someone consistently there who I felt like there was never an ulterior motive, and not to say that anyone else in my life there was, but like it was just like the thought was never there. We were always able to have conversations, um and like just having more of a community. That's when we started going to Rotary together too. That was the thing. So like it was all these kind of like steps, right? But the biggest thing was like just like getting out there. I think a lot of times people are just waiting for things to come to them, and I would say that in 2 years, that was probably the biggest decision that I think that I made, was just unapologetically, just like full steam ahead.
Yeah.
Because that was the other thing with like, and that's kind of like that thing with the military too, right? Is we are very used to just being told what to do. So when no one was telling me what to do, it was very hard to understand what my next step was going to be, especially with something outside of the military. So once I decided to just take control of it, things changed.
Wow. That, first of all, I'm so happy that you said that. Now you guys already know. So when I look at that, it's like I call that first of all, shout out to Net. we gonna give Net her flowers. A real
That's
one.
my boo.
That's a real one right there, because I'm like listening. I'm like, that's powerful that she would even tell you that, because I couldn't imagine being on the other side of that phone.
Bro, I hated it. I'm in the moment when she told me that, I was like, no.
Yeah. But see, I'm glad that she did, because listen, this is how you start to block your blessings. To me, right? And that's what I start to look at as obedience. Because there's moments where you're going to be tested in things that you really don't truly want to do. And that, like I say it all the time, you don't know what the benefit is. You didn't know what the benefit is. It could have been painful. You don't know if it's going to give you a direct, like you don't know if it's going to directly benefit you or not. You don't know what it looks like, but you know that it's right. So I think like that is amazing. And when I started to come up with this topic, like what I was thinking about that, when I was like, okay, how do you move towards your goals and move strategically, and what does that look like for people, right? Because I think that like we all know what we want. Like I know what I want, right?
Mhm.
I know what I want. Most people know what they want. Most people,
I would
they'll
say
figure it
most people
out.
don't know what they
Wanna
want.
be a
Listen,
baller.
You don't know, but it's
Yeah.
because I feel like it's really actually deep down in you. Because I feel like for a long time I thought I didn't know, right? I probably didn't have the intricate details.
I mean, yeah.
But like I was always a talker. Okay, I call it.
Nah.
Don't let me be on the phone. Anybody,
Girl,
a phone see me coming. A phone see me coming. It's like, okay, here we go. And I will
Essex here
talk.
on the phone. He's like,
Yeah.
"Hey kids, we're not eating dinner tonight."
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you. So what me and Essex does. Hold on. Side note for y'all. Don't, because people come to it. They when they're around us, they like, oh my god, really, y'all. He'll be in the garage. I'll be in the house upstairs.
Mhm.
We on the phone together. And hey, what you doing? So then you know what happened? And so like my sister's in the living room. She's like, oh my God, are you on the phone with Essex? Yeah. Like it's just like that. Anyway.
what's
Yeah,
up.
I mean,
So-
Ned and I talk on our travels home or anything. So if I'm at home already, it's the same thing. People are like, "Aren't you gonna see her?" I'm like,
I
"No,
don't care.
we downloaded.
Yeah.
Like we
I don't know
talking."
what it is, but we've been like that since I met Essex.
Because he's your best friend.
Yeah, he's all, and then when his family used to say that because they are so close, but you know when you get with somebody and then you start to like get closer, and then you
Mhm.
eventually they leave. So like we will always be like two peas in a pod,
Mhm.
like you, and so it's kind of like never change. That's
Yeah.
like our foundation. But I just feel like I don't even remember what I was saying, but because y'all laughed, it was something. But I feel like okay, I know what I want for the most part,
Yeah.
right? I think
Mhm.
what the struggle was is like trying to get to what you want to do
Mhm.
and what the idea is like you might want to do,
Yeah.
and it being like taxing on you. You know, like
Mhm.
trying to get to this thing might be draining emotionally, physically,
Mhm.
like you're trying to rush it. And I feel like a lot of the times, like that was true for me, where I'm like, okay, I see something there and I'm trying to rush to get to it. Right.
Yeah.
Like you ever like feel like, all right, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know I'm trying to get towards something. There's
yeah.
there's no like strategic plan there,
Yeah.
right? But so it's like kind of like you're just moving at
Yeah.
that point. Like I'm getting there, but there's no plan.
Mhm.
And I think that for a lot of people, this is like the space that you might get stuck in because it starts to be a circle. And
Yeah.
when I think about like how I was feeling with trying to scale my business and stuff, you know, like
Mhm.
okay, I'm trying to scale, trying to be a mom, a wife,
Yeah.
wealth building, be grounded. Like how do you move forward from going in circles?
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
From chasing the wagon and going and being strategic and not necessarily hustle, right?
Mhm.
But be strategic about it.
Yeah.
So I think that's like when I was thinking about that, like, wow, just really asking the right questions to yourself,
For sure.
you know, and just being intentional about things when you're going at it. And if you have that desire or that vision, try to align both of them. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like be in the season you're in, but also don't forget to plan for the future.
For sure.
Yes, yes, yes. Shout out to King Sev 700. My cousin just hopped on IG Live, Chester, Pennsylvania, right outside of
Oh.
Philly.
Pennsylvania.
You know, shout out to Cuz. I appreciate you tuning in. Gregory Kettle, appreciate you tuning in, man.
Y'all.
Hey, GBP popping,
Yeah,
boy.
DP20, appreciate you checking in. My other
GBP
cousin,
popping.
5 Fit Dad in Delaware, appreciate you checking in as well. Who else? A couple other Killer Cam 716. That's Killer Cam with a K. Appreciate you
And that's not me.
Oh wow.
checking in. One of our business
Here's another
partners,
one.
Probe_media. Appreciate you checking
Hey,
in.
P Rob.
Yes.
Yay.
Sauce keep preffing.
Oh, that's Dak.
Who's that?
That's
Oh,
Dak.
Dak Vallejo, California in the building.
Hey.
Appreciate you tuning in as well. Cordelia Bulldogs, appreciate you tuning in. And I think this is my little sister in Massachusetts. I am unique. Yeah, it is. I am unique, Alexis. We hadn't talked in a minute, but appreciate you tuning in.
Aw.
Hey.
Hey y'all, what's up?
Yeah, shout him out. Shout him out, Karina. So you got too many?
No.
Karina's popular, you know what I mean?
She's
Not I got too
so
many.
popular.
Well, I see 16 Hustle King. What's up? 707 Gassin. What's up? Essex Cook.
Mm-hmm.
I have
Shout out to
Mariah
S.
on there. Yes. And then I think she has another profile, Esperanza. Oop. Sorry if I said it wrong. y'all. See, don't have me saying names, y'all.
Oh, that's what the look was for. She's like, Cam.
You know, you just
do-
say something wrong.
Don't do this to me, Cam.
Let us know if y'all have any questions on the topic. The one that we just wrapping up is strategically moving towards your desires and goals.
Yeah, we're gonna figure out this IG thing too. It would I couldn't
Yeah.
even get it to do it. I couldn't even
Oh.
I did it the way I normally did it, and it
Gotcha.
still is man.
Yeah.
So maybe what we'll do, we'll just set up all our phones.
I know.
So the as we wrap it up, so mine was investing in your future, which I mean realistically, everything we talked about was all in that, right? And I brought that up specifically because I feel all of us are in that mode right now.
Yeah.
Because it's, you know, when you hear investing, correction, you hear a lot of people talk about sacrifice. Like, oh, you got to sacrifice your sleep, or you got to sacrifice your money, and I don't like when we say sacrifice, because sacrificing imposes that realistic you may not get something back for it. That's the way I think about it, right? When I hear sacrifice, it's like, oh, you just giving it away type thing. Whereas when it's like an investment, at that point, like, you are strategically giving up something in return for something in the future, you know. Or there's sometimes, so like for instance, like, you know, I'll bring it to like a faith thing. You know, we hear a lot about like Jesus sacrificed himself for people, right? I would almost say he invested in the future of mankind, you know, by doing that, you know. And I'm not like, when I was talking about, I'm not necessarily faith-based, but I know you guys are. And so, but that's what I mean when I think about that, right? Is like, so when you hear the investment for your future piece, it's like too many people get stuck in the like, what do I have to give up? Or there's no immediate ROI.
Yeah.
Or, oh, you mean it's going to take me this long to do this or this or this? You know, for instance, I spoke to someone the other day and they said they didn't join the Air Force as a pilot. And G was actually in here when I had this conversation. They didn't join the Air Force as a pilot because they saw the 10-year commitment and they thought that was too long. But instead, they went to college and racked up 30,000, you know, or 30 years worth of college debt. And I was like, so you were okay with that commitment, and it didn't pay off because now you're still in the Air Force and you didn't do any of those things that you know, whatever. And so, too many times there's like this talk about what do I have to sacrifice, when it's like, yo, you got to invest that stuff. You got to invest your time. You have to invest in your mindset, right? You got to read, you got to learn, you got to invest in the people around you, you know. Someone called me last night who I haven't spoken to in a while. And there was no ill will. It's just like, we're just not friends no more, and that's okay. And I told Net, and I said, "Oh, so and so tried to call me." She said, "Oh, what they say?" I was like, "I don't know. I didn't pick up." And she's like, "Oh, well, like, why?" And I said, "Well, why would I? I mean, there's no ill will, but I also don't want to waste my time. I'd rather watch a movie with you than waste time acting like I'm into a conversation that I wasn't into for the last year that we never spoke." Then that's me investing in my marriage in that moment. Because why would I now waste my time with a conversation that has no value?
Clock it.
We're gonna get deep on here, y'all.
Wow.
Some folks are gonna take away a lot of, some nuggets. You know, hopefully some people take away and they may need to re-look at how they're executing their life. You know what I mean? And this is part of like the power of connection, right? And I think that we pick the title like almost perfectly, you know, as far as the mics and the mindsets.
Yeah.
And
So Mariah Earl said, "It's opportunity cost, not sacrifice."
Yes. Yes, that's a good one, Mariah.
Yeah. Is that your folks?
Cost. That's my cousin.
Okay, what's up, cousin?
Hey. That's my cousin.
Mariah.
Yes.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Honestly, I feel,
especially as a mother, you know, like as a mother, like, you know, there are times when you might have to invest more in the business in this moment than you are even, or as a wife or as a mom, you know, like, so like, you know, we hear a lot about like balance, and there's no, in my opinion, there's no such thing as like absolute as balance it's balancing, like some things are going to be hard here and then it's going to do that teeter totter, right? So like, what's that balance like?
Ooh, you hit the hammer on the nail. Because literally, I was just talking to Mariah about this.
Boom, there you go.
Because and I was talking to my husband about this because I'm like, I don't think there is a balance anymore. Honestly, I think it's what you decide to give your energy to. And
Yeah.
of course, like with family, that's always gonna be top tier though.
Yeah. Oh,
You
for
know?
sure.
And so like how I'm starting to look at it now is that okay, if we say balance, right? How do I make it make sense?
Right.
Yeah,
Then because there's gonna be some long nights with work.
for sure.
As entrepreneurs, we're gonna have to work, we're gonna have to put our time in.
Yeah.
I was using the word sacrifice, you know. We're gonna have to sacrifice or invest
Yeah.
that energy into this thing in order for it to work. And that's gonna be sleepless nights, sometimes long days, missing
Yeah.
out on events, doing things.
Yeah.
That is what I'm talking about. But then if I can say, well, how do I keep it as a mom? How do I keep myself grounded? Because that's how I'm looking at it.
For sure.
It's not not looking at it like a balance thing anymore. Grounded is being able to say, I'm here present with my kids.
Yeah.
We do spend time. I do make time for them on, y'all see me with my kids.
For sure.
I'll even bring them into my world.
Oh,
Y'all
yeah.
do the same thing. So it's like when now, like Glenn said, is what I start to realize is start including my kids into showing them what my world is.
Yeah.
Because mommy doesn't really play. I don't play like with toys and stuff. I don't really play with them that way. Right. I did when they were little babies, but now
Yeah.
they have each other. So now
That's
I
what
don't
I be
have
saying.
to.
I'm like, y'all got each other.
Y'all got each other. That's a good thing with siblings, right?
Yeah.
It's like you guys have each other, and it also could be how I grew up, you know. But I am gonna include you into this world. I'm gonna bring you in here. They might even be in the room while I'm working. They might be right there next to me while I'm on Zoom. Y'all don't even know it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so that's how I do it. And then we have our family time outside, you know. I think that I love what you said about saying, okay, look, I'm gonna cut this off at this time because I don't think I'm there yet. I ain't cut it off right now because for me, I'm kind of always working, you know, and so I'm not, for me, I'm like, I'm just solely putting my work in right now, and later on in life, like I'll relax and my kids are gonna be taken care of and they know what their mommy is doing, and you know, like that's just what it is for me.
Yeah. It has to make sense. So for instance, like if G would have called me instead of this other person, I would have picked up.
Facts.
You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? Or
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you call me, Essex call me, you know, like the group of people who we are building with.
Yes.
But it's like, I think too many, I've been trying to teach my kids this because I don't feel like I learned this at a young age, is everybody was my friend. I wanted to give everybody, you know, like, and I actually had a breakdown a couple of years ago. Like I remember it. I was in a U-Haul. It's when I was moving from Roseville to Travis. I was talking to Net, and I realized in this moment that I had built no core relationships my entire life. I had spent my entire life moving from thing to thing because I went to 13 different schools growing up. So I was always ready for just the next school. I was like, hey, cool, we good right now. But as soon as I leave this school, probably never going to see you or talk to you again.
Wow.
So and then I joined the military, and that's what you drove from base to base. And so I spent the 30 years building realistically no foundational relationships. And I was like, and that was a core part of my world, was always feeling that I couldn't count on anyone. And then I was alone my whole life.
Yeah.
You know? And so I think I cried for like 12 hours straight. It was crazy. It was like, it just kept going. I blame Annette once again. She was breaking me down. And so,
break you down and build you up.
But part of that is like, now, like I know who my relationships are with and who I am investing with for the future.
So that goes into boundaries then.
Correct.
You know, that's what I'm hearing. It's like, you're like, no, I'm actually setting boundaries. So there's just a certain, and everybody should be doing that.
Correct.
Like if you're not setting boundaries, I mean, again, you're opening up a lot of disconnect between yourself and the other people anyway, you know, and it's not helping anybody. So I like that. I love it actually. Yeah.
Boundaries. So this was the inaugural, guys.
Yes.
We did it. We did it. We got
real quick. I'm gonna give a special shout out to my little sis.
Anna B shout out, man.
_ bless. What's up, Lee? Appreciate you tapping in. This is the first Mics and Mindset. Keep tapping in. They'll be live. We will be live Fridays.
Yep. What you got? What you got, Karina?
shout out to everybody that is in these lives. Thank you for supporting us.
Yeah.
Yes, like you said, we will be here every Friday bringing conversations to you guys. Of course, if there is something that you feel that you want to bring to the table that is a elevated conversation, please bring it to the table. If it's something that makes sense, let's talk about it. And then, you guys, we have Faith Over Finance
Yes, yes.
Hey.
in about 8 days. So
Mhm.
if you have not purchased your tickets and registered, please register. It's next Friday at the Solano Yacht Club,
What city?
Sassoon City.
Okay.
Okay. And it's from 11 to 2:30. And it's going to be some incredible line of speakers, the panel. We're going to be giving out raffle prizes. There's going to be refreshments there. So please, y'all, register. I would love for you to be there.
Yeah. For those of you watching on Facebook or YouTube, you will see the QR code on your screen. So go and hit it, bro. For those of you in Instagram land, go to her profile and the link's in there and you register. We'll be there, of course, supporting, taping,
Mhm.
making it happen.
Yes.
But no, this was dope. This was
Yeah.
our first one.
Yeah.
This was we put it together for y'all guys.
Yeah.
But every Friday, I think next Friday it's the same time, 1:00. Normally it's gonna be at noon though. That's the plan. But we it's chill though. We won't be overly crazy. But Fridays expect to see us on here talking. If you want to come on, reach out to us. Like Karina said, elevated conversations. If you're putting on something in the community for the community, reach out to us and we can make it happen. But at the end of the day, this is all about mindset and mics.
Yep.
But that being said, I think we are out, y'all.
Yes, sir.
Peace. Oh, how do I